Hello, literature lovers. Today we are going to explore one of the most thoughtful and autobiographical essays in English literature, Charles Lamb's The Superannuated Man. This essay presents the deep feelings of a man who has spent 36 long years in an office and finally free from the chains of mechanical life in office. Let's start. If peradventure reader, it has been thy lot to waste the golden years of thy life, thy shining youth, in the irksome confinement of an office, to have thy prison days prolonged through middle age down to decrepitude and silver hairs without hope of release or respite, to have lived to forget that there are such things as holidays or to remember them but as the prerogatives of childhood, then and then only will you be able to appreciate my deliverance. If a person has spent the best years of youth confined in dull office work, he can understand the writer's feelings. If one grows old in service without hope of freedom, life feels like imprisonment. Holidays then remain only childhood memories, not adult experiences. Only such a person can truly appreciate the writer's freedom from office life. It is now 6 and 30 years since I took my seat at the desk in Mincing Lane. Melancholy was the transition at 14 from the abundant playtime and the frequently intervening vacations of school days to the 8, 9, and sometimes 10 hours a day attendance at the counting house. But time partially reconciles us to anything. I gradually became content, doggedly contented, as wild animals in cages. The writer worked for 36 years at a desk in Mincing Lane. Leaving school at 14 for long office hours was a sad and painful change. With time, humans get used to even the worst conditions. The writer became resigned to office life like a caged animal. It is true, I had my Sundays to myself, but Sundays, admirable as the institution of them is for purposes of worship, are for that very reason the very worst adapted for days of unbending and recreation. In particular, there is a gloom for me attendant upon a city Sunday, a weight in the air. I miss the cheerful cries of London, the music and the ballad singers, the buzz and stirring murmur of the streets. Those eternal bells depress me. The closed shops repel me. Prints, pictures, all the glittering and endless succession of knacks and gewgaws and ostentatiously displayed wares of tradesmen, which make a weekday saunter through the less busy parts of the metropolis so delightful, are shut out. No bookstalls deliciously to idle over, no busy faces to recreate the idle man who contemplates them ever passing by. The very face of business a charm by contrast to his temporary relaxation from it. Nothing to be seen but unhappy countenances or half happy at best of emancipated apprentices and little tradesfolks with here and there a servant maid that has got leave to go out, who slaving all the week with the habit has lost almost the capacity of enjoying a free hour, and livelily expressing the hollowness of a day's pleasuring. The very strollers in the fields on that day look anything but comfortable. Sundays were free, but they were unsuitable for real enjoyment. City Sundays felt gloomy and depressing to him. He missed the lively noise and movement of working days. Closed shops and silent streets made Sundays joyless. There were no bookstalls or cheerful scenes to enjoy. People on Sundays looked unhappy and tired. Even countryside walkers appeared uncomfortable. But besides Sundays, I had a day at Easter and a day at Christmas, with a full week in the summer to go and air myself in my native fields of Hertfordshire. This last was a great indulgence, and the prospect of its recurrence, I believe, alone kept me up through the year and made my durance tolerable. But when the week came round, did the glittering phantom of the distance keep touch with me, or rather was it not a series of 7 uneasy days spent in restless pursuit of pleasure and a wearisome anxiety to find out how to make the most of them? Where was the quiet where the promised rest? Before I had a taste of it, it was vanished. I was at the desk again, counting upon the 51 tedious weeks that must intervene before such another snatch would come. Still, the prospect of its becoming threw something of an illumination upon the darker side of my captivity. Without it, as I have said, I could scarcely have sustained my thraldom. Apart from Sundays, he got holidays only at Easter, Christmas, and one summer week. The summer holiday was a special privilege. Thinking about it helped him tolerate office bondage. But when the holiday came, it brought anxiety instead of peace. The days passed restlessly while trying to enjoy them fully. The promised rest never truly came. The holiday ended before it could be enjoyed. He returned to office counting days for the next break. Still, hope for future holidays lightened his misery. Without this hope, office life would have been unbearable. Independently of the rigors of attendance, I have ever been haunted with a sense, perhaps a mere caprice, of incapacity for business. This during my latter years had increased to such a degree that it was visible in all the lines of my countenance. My health and my good spirits flagged. I had perpetually a dread of some crisis to which I should be found unequal. Besides my daylight servitude, I served over again all night in my sleep and would awake with terrors of imaginary false entries, errors in my accounts, and the like. I was 50 years of age, and no prospect of emancipation presented itself. I had grown to my desk, as it were, and the wood had entered into my soul. He always felt unsuited for business work. This feeling grew stronger with age and showed on his face. His health and spirits declined. He constantly feared making serious mistakes. Office worries haunted him even in sleep. He imagined errors in accounts and false entries. My fellows in the office would sometimes rally me upon the trouble legible in my countenance, but I did not know that it had raised the suspicions of any of my employers when on the 5th of last month, a day ever to be remembered by me, the junior partner in the firm, calling me on one side, directly taxed me with my bad looks and frankly inquired the cause of them. So taxed, I honestly made confession of my infirmity and added that I was afraid I should eventually be obliged to resign his service. He spoke some words, of course, to hearten me, and there the matter rested. A whole week I remained laboring under the impression that I had acted imprudently in my disclosure, that I had foolishly given a handle against myself, and had been anticipating my own dismissal. A week passed in this manner, the most anxious one, I verily believe, in my whole life, when on the evening of the 12th of April, just as I was about quitting my desk to go home, it might be about 8 o'clock, I received an awful summons to attend the presence of the whole assembled firm in the formidable back parlour. I thought, now my time is surely come. I have done for myself. I am going to be told that they have no longer occasion for me. L, I could see, smiled at the terror I was in, which was a little relief to me. When, to my utter astonishment, B, the eldest partner, began a formal harangue to me on the length of my services, my very meritorious conduct during the whole of the time, the deuce, thought I, how did he find out that? I protest I never had the confidence to think as much. He went on to descant on the expediency of retiring at a certain time of life. How my heart panted! And asking me a few questions as to the amount of my own property, of which I have a little, ended with a proposal to which his three partners nodded a grave assent, that I should accept from the house which I had served so well a pension for life to the amount of two-thirds of my accustomed salary, a magnificent offer. I do not know what I answered between surprise and gratitude, but it was understood that I accepted their proposal, and I was told that I was free from that hour to leave their service. I stammered out a bow, and at just 10 minutes after 8 I went home forever. This noble benefit, gratitude forbids me to conceal their names. I owe to the kindness of the most munificent farm in the world, the house of Boldero, Meriwether, Bosanquet, and Lacey. Esto Perpetua. He always felt unsuited for business work. This feeling grew stronger with age and showed on his face. His health and spirits declined. He constantly feared making serious mistakes. Office worries haunted him even in sleep. He imagined errors in accounts and false entries. For the first day or two, I felt stunned, overwhelmed. I could only apprehend my felicity. I was too confused to taste it sincerely. I wandered about, thinking I was happy, and knowing that I was not. I was in the condition of a prisoner in the old Bastille, suddenly let loose after a 40 years' confinement. I could scarce trust myself with myself. It was like passing out of time into eternity. For it is a sort of eternity for a man to have his time all to himself. It seemed to me that I had more time on my hands than I could ever manage. From a poor man, poor in time, I was suddenly lifted up into a vast revenue. I could see no end of my professions. I wanted some steward or judicious bailiff to manage my estates in time for me. And here let me caution persons grown old in active business, not lightly nor without weighing their own resources, to forego their customary employment all at once. For there may be danger in it. I feel it by myself, but I know that my resources are sufficient, and now that those first giddy raptures have subsided, I have a quiet home feeling of the blessedness of my condition. I am in no hurry, having all holidays. I am as though I had none. If time hung heavy upon me, I could walk it away. But I do not walk all day long, as I used to do in those old transient holidays, 30 miles a day, to make the most of them. If time were troublesome, I could read it away, but I do not read in that violent measure, with which, having no time of my own but candlelight time, I used to weary out my head and eyesight in bygone winters. I walk, read, or scribble as now, just when the fit seizes me. I no longer hunt after pleasure, I let it come to me. I am like the man that's born and has his years come to him in some green desert. After retirement, he felt overwhelmed by too much free time. He warns people not to give up work suddenly without preparation. Sudden leisure can be mentally dangerous. He feels the danger but knows he can manage it. After initial excitement faded, he felt peaceful happiness. He now feels calm and unhurried. When every day is a holiday, no day feels special. He can walk, read, or write whenever he wishes. He no longer overdoes activities like before. Pleasure now comes naturally, he does not chase it. Yes, you will say, what is this superannuated simpleton calculating upon? He has already told us he is past 50. I have indeed lived nominally 50 years, but deduct out of them the hours which I have lived to other people and not to myself, and you will find me still a young fellow. For that is the only true time which a man can properly call his own, that which he has all to himself. The rest, though in some sense he may be said to live it, is other people's time, not his. The remnant of my poor days, long or short, is at least multiplied for me threefold. My 10 next years, if I stretch so far, will be as long as any preceding 30. It is fair rule of threesome. Though over 50, he feels young at heart. Only time lived for oneself is real life. Time spent serving others doesn't truly belong to a person. His remaining years now feel longer and richer. Among the strange fantasies which beset me at the commencement of my freedom, and of which all traces are not yet gone, one was that a vast tract of time had intervened since I quitted the counting house. I could not conceive of it as an affair of yesterday. The partners and the clerks with whom I had for so many years and for so many hours in each day of the year been closely associated, being suddenly removed from them, they seemed as dead to me. There is a fine passage which may serve to illustrate this fantasy. In a tragedy by Sir Robert Howard, speaking of a friend's death, it was but just now he went away. I have not since had time to shed a tear, and yet the distance does the same appear, as if he had been 1,000 years from me. Time takes no measure in eternity. To dissipate this awkward feeling, I have been fain to go among them once or twice since to visit my old desk fellows, my co-brethren of the quill, that I had left below in the state militant. Not all the kindness with which they received me could quite restore to me that pleasant familiarity which I had heretofore enjoyed among them. We cracked some of our old jokes, but methought they went off but faintly. My old desk, the peg where I hung my hat, were appropriated to another. I knew it must be, but I could not take it kindly. I take me, if I did not feel some remorse, beast, if I had not, at quitting my old compeers, the faithful partners of my toils for 36 years, that soothed for me with their jokes and conundrums the ruggedness of my professional road. Had it been so rugged then after all, or was I a coward simply? Well, it is too late to repent, and I also know that these suggestions are a common fallacy of the mind on such occasions. But my heart smote me. I had violently broken the bands betwixt us. It was at least not courteous. I shall be some time before I get quite reconciled to the separation. Farewell, old cronies, yet not for long, for again and again I will come among ye, if I shall have your leave. Farewell, CH, dry, sarcastic, and friendly. Dio, mild, slow and move, and gentlemanly. PL, officious to do and to volunteer good services. And thou dreary pile, fit mansion for a Grisham or a Whittington of old stately house of merchants, with thy labyrinthine passages and light excluding pent up offices, where candles for one half the year supplied the place of the sun's light. Unhealthy contributor to my will, stern fosterer of my living farewell. In the remain and not in the obscure collection of some wandering bookseller my works, there let them rest, as I do from my labours, piled on thy messy shelves, more emisses in folio than ever Aquinas left, and full as useful. My mantle I bequeath among ye. After leaving office, time seemed strangely expanded. Former colleagues felt distant and unreal. Freedom alters the sense of time completely. Visiting the office again didn't restore old familiarity. His desk and place were taken by others. He felt emotional pain and guilt. He realized he had broken old bonds abruptly. He bids farewell to colleagues with affection. He also bids farewell to the dark, suffocating office building. A fortnight has passed since the date of my first communication. At that period, I was approaching to tranquillity, but had not reached it. I boasted of a calm indeed, but it was comparative only. Something of the first flutter was left, an unsettling sense of novelty that dazzled to weak eyes of unaccustomed light. I missed my old chains, forsooth, as if they had been some necessary part of my apparel. I was a poor Carthusian from strict cellular discipline, suddenly by some revolution returned upon the world. I am now as if I had never been other than my own master. It is natural for me to go where I please, to do what I please. I find myself at 11 o'clock in the day in Bond Street, and it seems to me that I have been sauntering there at that very hour for years past. I digress into Soho to explore a bookstall. Methinks I have been 30 years a collector. There is nothing strange nor new in it. I find myself before a fine picture in the morning. Was it ever otherwise? What is become of Fish Street Hill? Where is Fenchurch Street? Stones of old Mincing Lane, which I have worn with my daily pilgrimage for 36 years, To the footstep of what toil-worn clerk are your everlasting flints now vocal? I indent the gear flags of Pall Mall. It is change time, and I am strangely among the Elgin marbles. I was no hyperbole when I ventured to compare the change in my condition to passing into another world. Time stands still in a manner to me. I have lost all distinction of season. I do not know the day of the week or of the month. Each day used to be individually felt by me in its reference to the foreign post days, in its distance from or propinquity to the next Sunday. I had my Wednesday feelings, my Saturday night sensations. The genius of each day was upon me distinctly during the whole of it, affecting my appetite, spirits, etc. The phantom of the next day, with the dreary five to follow, set as a load upon my poor Sabbath recreations. What charm has washed the Ethiop white? What is gone to Black Monday? All days are the same. Sunday itself, that unfortunate failure of a holiday, as it too often proved, what with my sense of its fugitiveness and overcare to get the greatest quantity of pleasure out of it, is melted down into a weekday. I can spare to go to church now without grudging the huge candle which it used to seem to cut out of the holiday. I have time for everything. I can visit a sick friend. I can interrupt the man of much occupation when he is busiest. I can insult over him with an invitation to take a day's pleasure with me to Windsor this fine May morning. It is Lucretian pleasure to behold the poor drudges whom I have left behind in the world, kirking and caring like horses in a mill, drudging on it in the same eternal round. And what is it all for? A man can never have too much time to himself, nor too little to do. Had I a little son, I would christen him nothing to do. He should do nothing. Man, I verily believe, is out of his element as long as he is operative. I am altogether for the life contemplative. Will no kindly earthquake come and swallow up those accursed cotton mills? Take me that lumber of a desk there and bowl it down, as low as to the faints. The office supported his living but enslaved him. After 2 weeks, he reached complete mental peace. Freedom now feels natural and permanent. Wandering freely through London feels ordinary to him. He forgets old work related places and routines. Time and seasons no longer control his life. All days now feel equal and calm. Sundays no longer carry anxiety. He can attend church peacefully. He has time for friendship and kindness. Watching busy hours now gives him philosophical satisfaction. Mechanical labor reduces humans to machines. A man should have ample free time and little forced work. Constant activity is against human nature. The contemplative life is superior to mechanical labor. He rejects industrial drudgery. I am no longer clerk to the farm of etc. I am retired leisure. I am to be met with in trim gardens. I am already come to be known by my vacant face and careless gesture, perambulating at no fixed pace, nor with any settled purpose. I walk about, not to and fro. They tell me a certain calm, dignified air that has been buried so long with my other good parts has begun to shoot forth in my person. I grow into gentilly, perceptibly. When I take up a newspaper, it is to read the state of the opera, opus operatum est. I have done all that I came into this world to do. I have worked task work and have the rest of the day to myself. He is no longer a clerk. His new identity is leisure and freedom. He is recognized by his relaxed manner. He grows refined and dignified. He reads for culture, not duty. His life's compulsory work is complete. The rest of his life finally belongs to him.